The only mind that wins is the one that refuses to quit. Think about that for a second. In a world where most people stop at the first sign of pressure, the real edge isn't talent, luck, or background, it's mental endurance. It's your ability to keep going when most would walk away. The truth is, your mind either works for you or against you, and if you don't train it, it will stop you every time. This audiobook isn't full of hype. It's not about motivation that fades in a few hours. This is about rewiring your thinking step by step to build a mindset that does not give up, no matter what life throws your way. You'll learn how to take control of your inner dialogue, reset your focus when you're overwhelmed, and stay grounded when emotions try to take over. If you're tired of stopping halfway, if you're ready to become the kind of person who finishes what they start, this is where it begins. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to train your mind. And this time, never give up. Chapter 1. Teach your mind to stay strong under stress. You know, one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn in life is how to stay strong when life starts pressing you down. When the bills are piling up, when the people you trusted disappoint you, when the results you've been waiting for still haven't shown up, that's when the real training begins. You see, anyone can stay calm and confident when things are going their way, but true strength, real mental strength, shows up when everything around you seems to fall apart. That's when you learn who you really are. The human mind is powerful. It can create dreams, it can solve problems, and it can also destroy confidence if you don't learn how to control it. Most people think that mental strength is something you're born with. It's not. It's trained, just like a muscle. You build it every day through choices, through focus, and through how you respond to pressure. When stress hits, your mind has two paths. It can either panic, or it can stay calm and find a solution. And that choice, my friend, depends on how you've trained it. You see, stress doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to reveal your strength. It's a test, not a punishment. Life will not protect you from difficulty because it knows that only through difficulty do you grow. Think about it. Every strong person you admire today has been through something that nearly broke them. But what made them different is that they didn't let the storm control their thoughts. They decided that they would not give their power to fear, to panic, or to stress. They trained their mind to stay calm in the chaos. Staying strong under stress starts with awareness. You have to notice what your mind does when problems come. Do you immediately think of what could go wrong? Do you start imagining the worst? That's the mind running wild without direction. You have to stop and take control. Say to yourself, I decide how I will think, I decide how I will feel. Because if you don't decide, your emotions will decide for you, and emotions without discipline can destroy progress in seconds. The first step to training your mind under stress is to slow down your reaction. Most people react fast. They get angry fast, scared fast, discouraged fast. But the person who stays calm under stress understands that nothing good comes from a quick reaction. Breathe, think, respond. Don't let the first wave of fear make your decisions. Fear clouds your thinking, and when you act out of fear, you usually make things worse. Train yourself to pause before you speak, before you respond, before you give in to frustration. That pause is power. It gives your logical mind time to guide you, instead of letting emotion take over. The second step is to remind yourself of perspective. When you're under stress, your mind makes the problem look bigger than it is. You start to believe that this moment defines everything, but it doesn't. Nothing lasts forever, not pain, not struggle, not stress. You have to tell yourself the truth. This is temporary. The discomfort you feel right now is shaping you. Every time you handle stress without losing yourself, you become stronger. Every time you calm your thoughts and focus on what you can control, you build confidence that cannot be shaken. Another important part of mental training is routine. You can't wait for a crisis to practice strength. You build it daily through simple habits. Wake up early, take care of your body, read, plan your day, speak kindly to yourself. These may seem small, but they shape how your mind performs when pressure comes. If your daily life is filled with disorder, stress will hit harder. But when you live with structure, stress becomes easier to handle because your mind is trained to focus and not collapse. When you feel overwhelmed, remember to break things down. Stress often comes from feeling like everything must be solved right now. But life doesn't work that way. You don't climb a mountain in one jump, you take one step at a time. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do right now to make this situation better? That small question shifts your focus from panic to action. Action is the cure for stress. Even the smallest progress will calm your mind because movement creates confidence. You also have to watch what you feed your mind. The people you talk to, the content you consume, the words you repeat, all of it shapes how your mind handles stress. If you're always listening to negativity, gossip, or hopeless talk, you're weakening your mental defenses. You need to feed your mind strength. Read stories of people who overcame. Listen to voices that remind you that you can rise above. Speak words that empower you, not ones that tear you down. Your environment has a silent influence on your resilience. One of the greatest ways to strengthen your mind under stress is to focus on gratitude. It may sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful tools you have. When you're stressed, your mind looks for what's wrong. Gratitude reminds it of what's still right. It doesn't remove the problem, but it gives you strength to face it. Every morning, think of 3 things you're thankful for. It shifts your focus from worry to possibility. A grateful heart is a strong heart because it can find peace even in pressure. Self-talk also matters. What you say to yourself in stressful times shapes your reality. If you keep saying, "I can't handle this," your brain believes it and starts shutting down your options. But if you tell yourself, "I will find a way," your brain starts searching for solutions. It's not about lying to yourself, it's about directing your focus toward possibility instead of defeat. You are not your thoughts, you are the thinker who chooses them. Many people crumble under stress because they've never learned to be comfortable with discomfort. But growth and comfort never live in the same place. When stress comes, most people run, but those who stay, those who endure, they become unbreakable. You need to train yourself to stay in that discomfort a little longer. When you feel pressure, breathe through it. Don't escape it with distractions or complaints. Sit with it. Ask yourself what this moment is trying to teach you. Every stressful moment carries a lesson: patience, endurance, clarity, humility. Find the lesson and you'll find peace. It's also important to take care of your body because your mind depends on it. When you're tired, hungry, or neglecting your health, stress multiplies. Physical weakness amplifies mental weakness. Move your body. Eat clean. Get enough sleep. When your body is strong, your mind becomes sharper and calmer. You cannot build a powerful mindset while treating your body poorly. They are connected. When one breaks, the other suffers. Another truth about stress is that it exposes your priorities. When pressure comes, it reveals what truly matters to you. Use that awareness. If you're stressing over things that won't matter in a year, learn to let them go. You can't fight every battle. Save your energy for what really matters: your growth, your peace, your purpose. Train your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems. When something goes wrong, instead of saying, "Why me?" start asking, "What now?" That small shift changes your entire approach to life. You stop feeling like a victim and start acting like a creator. Stress loses its grip when you start taking responsibility. You realize that even if you didn't choose the situation, you can choose your response. And that's where your freedom lives, in your response. Mental strength isn't about never feeling stress. It's about how quickly you recover. You may feel scared, tired, or unsure, but you don't stay there. You get back up, you refocus, and you move forward. That's what separates strong minds from weak ones: recovery. Strong minds bounce back fast because they understand that stress is just part of the journey, not the end of it. So train your mind daily. Start with small things. When you feel frustrated in traffic, stay calm. When you get criticized, listen without reacting. When you face delays, remind yourself that patience builds power. Each time you do this, you're building mental muscles. It's not about being perfect, it's about getting better each time. One day, you'll look back and realize that the things that once broke you no longer have the same power. You'll still face challenges, but you'll stand taller, you'll breathe easier, you'll think clearer. That's what training your mind does. It doesn't remove the storm, it makes you stronger inside it. Remember, life will not always be easy, but it will always be worth it if you learn to stay strong. Stress will visit again, but next time you'll be ready. You'll see it differently, not as a wall, but as a doorway to growth. You'll say to yourself, "I've been here before. I've trained for this." And that confidence will carry you through anything. Every day you have the choice to react or to rise. Choose to rise. Choose strength over panic, patience over anger, focus over fear. That's how you train your mind to never give up, by staying strong under stress, again and again, until it becomes who you are. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Not by avoiding the pressure, but by learning to stand tall when it comes. That's the training, that's the journey, and that's how you build a mind that will never give up. Chapter 2. Build inner discipline that outlasts every excuse. Discipline is the foundation of every great life. It's not luck, not talent, not intelligence, it's discipline. The ability to do what you said you would do long after the excitement of starting has faded. Most people don't fail because they don't have goals. They fail because they can't stay consistent with the small things that build those goals. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about structure. It's about having control over your own actions instead of being controlled by comfort, laziness, or emotion. Building inner discipline means deciding that you will no longer let your feelings decide your future. It's waking up even when you don't feel like it. It's keeping your word even when no one is watching. It's doing the right thing for your growth even when it's hard. That's how real progress is made. People often ask how to stay motivated, but motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. It's what carries you when motivation disappears. The person who builds discipline doesn't need to feel like doing something. They simply do it because it's part of who they are. Every excuse your mind creates is built on comfort. It's built on avoiding temporary pain. The truth is, every excuse sounds reasonable at first. I'm tired. It's not the right time. I'll start tomorrow. But each time you choose that excuse, you weaken your will. You teach your mind that it's okay to give up on yourself. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Discipline is built in those tiny moments where you decide to act despite every reason not to. It's not about being perfect. It's about refusing to quit on the process. Discipline begins with clarity. You can't stay consistent if you don't know why you're doing something. You need a strong reason that anchors you when you feel like stopping. If you're just chasing a goal because it looks good, or because someone else wants it for you, you'll quit. But when your reason is personal, when it connects to who you want to become, you'll endure. So ask yourself, why do I want this? And who will I become if I don't follow through? The answers to those questions will drive you more than any outside motivation. The next step in building discipline is mastering your time. Time is your greatest resource, and discipline is how you protect it. Every minute you waste on distractions steals from your goals. To build inner discipline, you need structure in your day. Plan your mornings, decide how you'll spend your evenings, have a schedule that supports your growth instead of feeding your comfort. People who rely on willpower alone eventually fail, but people who build systems around their habits succeed. When your days have structure, you don't depend on how you feel. You simply follow your plan. Discipline also grows stronger when you remove temptation. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. If you're surrounded by distractions, you'll struggle to stay focused. Clean your space. Limit your time on things that drain your energy. If you want to eat better, don't keep junk food in the house. If you want to focus more, turn off notifications. The mind follows the path of least resistance, so make discipline easier by making distraction harder. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your environment. A disciplined mind also knows the power of saying no. You can't say yes to everything and expect to grow. Every yes is a trade. You trade your time, your focus, your energy. Say no to anything that doesn't move you closer to your purpose. You don't owe explanations for protecting your focus. The people who reach their goals are not the busiest, they are the most selective. They know what matters and they guard it. Learn to say no without guilt, because every yes to distraction is a no to your dreams. Another way to build discipline is by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you make a commitment and follow through, you strengthen your self-respect. Every time you break it, you weaken your trust in yourself. If you tell yourself you'll wake up early, then do it. If you say you'll finish that task today, finish it. Start small if you must, but mean what you say. Self-discipline grows through self-trust, and self-trust grows through consistency. When you honor your word, your confidence grows. You begin to see yourself as capable, reliable, and in control. That's power. Discipline is also about delayed gratification, the ability to wait for results, to do the work without demanding instant reward. Most people quit too early because they don't see progress fast enough. They forget that growth takes time. The disciplined mind keeps going even when nothing seems to be working because it knows that every effort counts. The results are coming, but only for those who keep showing up. If you can be patient in the waiting, you will achieve what most people never do. Sometimes discipline means doing the boring things. Repetition builds mastery. It's not glamorous, but it's necessary. You don't become great by doing something once. You become great by doing it again and again until it becomes natural. It's not exciting to practice the same thing daily, but that's what separates winners from the rest. The disciplined person focuses on the process, not the excitement. They understand that progress often feels slow, but consistency always compounds. You also need to manage your self-talk when building discipline. Your mind will try to convince you to stop, to rest, to delay. It will tell you that you've done enough or that it's too hard. You must be stronger than that voice. Talk to yourself with firmness, not pity. Tell yourself the truth, not excuses. You don't need to be harsh, but you do need to be honest. If you keep feeding your mind with weakness, it will act weak. But if you speak strength, it will respond with power. Discipline is not about control from the outside. It's about control from within. It's the quiet decision that you are responsible for your future. No one is coming to push you. No one is going to make you consistent. You have to become your own coach, your own leader. That means doing the work even when nobody claps. That means sticking to your standards even when it's unpopular. When you do that, something changes inside you. You begin to respect yourself more deeply. The hardest part of building discipline is staying consistent when progress is invisible. You wake up early, work hard, and still don't see results. That's when most people stop. But this is where discipline shows its true value. Discipline says, keep going, it's working, even if you can't see it yet. Every action you take is a seed, and discipline is the water that helps it grow. You may not see it sprout today, but it's growing beneath the surface. The disciplined person understands that patience is part of success. One of the biggest enemies of discipline is comparison. When you keep looking at others, you lose focus on your own journey. Discipline means staying centered on your own growth. Your timeline is yours. Comparing your chapter to someone else's story will only breed frustration. Focus on improving from where you were yesterday, not where someone else is today. Discipline thrives in self-awareness, not in competition. To build lasting discipline, you must also learn how to rest wisely. Rest is not laziness, it's part of balance. But the difference between rest and distraction is intention. Rest to recover, not to escape. When you use rest to recharge your energy, you return stronger. When you use it to avoid your responsibilities, it weakens your discipline. Listen to your body and mind, give them time to recover, but don't lose your rhythm. Even rest should serve your purpose. Discipline grows through accountability. Share your goals with someone who pushes you to stay consistent. It's easy to quit in silence, but harder to quit when someone expects your best. Choose people who challenge you, not those who make excuses with you. The right environment pushes your standards higher. When you're surrounded by disciplined people, you naturally rise to meet that energy. You'll also need to accept discomfort as part of discipline. Growth always asks for a price. It demands effort, sacrifice, and persistence. But the pain of discipline is temporary, while the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Choose the short-term struggle over long-term disappointment. Every time you push through discomfort, you train your mind to be stronger. You prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. Remember that discipline is freedom in disguise. People think discipline limits them, but it actually liberates them. When you live with discipline, you're not a slave to impulse. You don't waste time on meaningless things. You create space for what truly matters. Discipline gives you control over your choices, your time, and your direction. It makes your life intentional. It turns chaos into order, confusion into clarity. Inner discipline is also tied to self-respect. When you stop breaking promises to yourself, you start feeling proud of who you are. You stop needing validation from others because you know you're doing what needs to be done. That quiet confidence builds peace. You start to feel stronger inside, not because life got easier, but because you became more consistent. To make discipline last, attach it to identity, not just goals. Don't just say, I want to get fit. Say, I am someone who takes care of my body. Don't say, I want to save money. Say, I am someone who respects my finances. When discipline becomes who you are, instead of what you do, you don't have to force it anymore. It becomes automatic. When you build inner discipline that outlasts every excuse, you transform from being driven by emotion to being driven by purpose. You stop depending on perfect conditions and start creating your own. You become the kind of person who does the work even when it's raining, even when it's lonely, even when it's hard. That's when you become unstoppable. Life will always give you reasons to stop. There will always be something that tries to pull you away from your goals. But the disciplined person keeps moving forward, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. They know that every day of consistency builds strength, and every excuse takes it away. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, that bridge gets stronger. You may not see the change immediately, but one day you'll look back and realize that every moment you stayed consistent, every time you resisted an excuse, every small action you repeated, it all added up. That's how you build inner discipline that outlasts every excuse, by choosing growth over comfort, structure over chaos, and consistency over emotion. By doing what needs to be done, not once, but every day. That's how you take full control of your life, your habits, and your future. Because discipline doesn't just build success, it builds the person capable of sustaining it.
Chapter 3. Reprogram negative thoughts into powerful beliefs. Your thoughts shape everything about your life. The way you think determines how you act, how you feel, and how far you go. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, your life will reflect that. But if your thoughts are built on belief, confidence, and purpose, you start moving differently. You walk stronger, you speak with more certainty, you handle life with more control. Most people don't realize that their biggest enemy isn't outside of them, it's the voice inside their head that keeps telling them they can't. Reprogramming negative thoughts into powerful beliefs isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about taking control of the stories you tell yourself every single day. Every thought is a seed, and your mind is the soil. Whatever you plant grows. If you keep planting worry and self-doubt, you'll keep living with fear and hesitation. But if you start planting faith and courage, you'll begin to live with power and direction. Your mind listens to what you repeat. It doesn't know what's true or false. It simply believes what you feed it most often. That's why you must take responsibility for your inner dialogue. You can't think negative thoughts all day and expect a positive life. Change begins in the mind, not in the world around you. Most negative thinking starts quietly. It hides behind excuses like I'm just being realistic, or I'm protecting myself from disappointment. But in truth, these are just forms of fear. They protect your comfort zone, not your potential. Every time you say you can't do something, you're giving that thought power. You're programming your mind to stop trying. To reprogram your thoughts, you must first catch yourself when negativity starts to speak. Awareness is the first step to change. The moment you notice that inner voice of doubt, pause and question it. Ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? If it's hurting you, it's not truth, it's just fear, pretending to be logic. The human brain has a natural bias toward negativity because it's designed to protect you. It looks for danger, for mistakes, for what might go wrong. That's how it keeps you safe. But in modern life, that same instinct works against you. It keeps you from taking risks, from trying new things, from believing in yourself. Reprogramming your thoughts means training your brain to see opportunity instead of threat. You can't turn off fear, but you can teach your mind to focus on growth instead of failure. Start by changing your language. The words you use shape your mindset. When you say, I can't, you close the door to possibility. Replace it with, I'm learning, or I'll figure it out. Those words don't deny difficulty. They build confidence. When you say, this is too hard, change it to this will take effort, but I can handle it. The difference may seem small, but it's everything. Over time, your brain begins to form new patterns. It learns to see challenge as something to rise to, not something to avoid. Your thoughts are habits, and like any habit, they can be changed through repetition. You can't reprogram your mind by thinking positively once. You do it by choosing empowering thoughts over and over, until they become automatic. Each time you catch yourself thinking negatively and replace it with a constructive thought, you're rewiring your brain. It's mental training, and it takes time, but eventually what once felt forced becomes natural. Beliefs are just repeated thoughts accepted as truth. If you've told yourself for years that you're not good enough, your brain has accepted that as reality. To change that, you have to replace it with new evidence. Start proving your old thoughts wrong through action. If you think you're not confident, start speaking up in small ways. If you think you're not capable, start taking on small challenges and finishing them. Each success, no matter how small, becomes proof that the old belief is false. Over time, those new experiences reshape how you see yourself. One of the most powerful exercises to reprogram your mind is self-reflection. Take a moment each day to notice what thoughts keep repeating. Are they thoughts of doubt, worry, or fear? Or are they thoughts of growth, confidence, and gratitude? You can't change what you don't notice. Write down the thoughts that hold you back, then challenge them with truth. For example, if your mind says, "I'll never succeed," write down every small success you've had before. If your mind says, "I'm not good enough," remind yourself of the progress you've already made. Your brain believes what you show it consistently. You must also learn to separate yourself from your thoughts. Just because a negative thought appears doesn't mean it's true. Thoughts are like visitors. They come and go. You don't have to entertain all of them. You can watch them pass without acting on them. This is where emotional control begins. When you stop reacting to every negative thought, you weaken its power. The more you observe your thoughts without judgment, the more freedom you gain over your mind. Affirmations can also help you reshape your thinking, but they have to be believable and consistent. Don't tell yourself things you don't believe. Instead, create statements that reflect the person you are becoming. Say things like, "I am learning to trust myself," or "I am becoming stronger each day." Speak them daily with conviction. Your subconscious mind learns through repetition and emotion. The more you feel the truth in your words, the faster your beliefs change. Your mental environment matters too. Surround yourself with people who think positively and live with purpose. Energy is contagious. If you're always around negativity, it becomes harder to change your thoughts. Choose conversations that uplift you. Listen to people who talk about solutions, not problems. Read books that build your mindset. Watch content that motivates you. Everything you allow into your mind is programming it in some way. Be intentional about what you consume. Another powerful step in reprogramming negative thoughts is gratitude. When you focus on what's missing, your mind lives in lack. When you focus on what's good, your mind lives in abundance. Gratitude shifts your perspective from scarcity to strength. It reminds you that you already have more than you often realize. Make it a daily habit to list things you're thankful for, even small ones. Over time, your brain begins to notice more good than bad. That shift alone can change your entire outlook. Visualization is another tool for rewiring your thoughts. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined when emotion is involved. If you consistently visualize yourself succeeding, handling pressure, and living with confidence, your brain starts preparing for that reality. It builds neural pathways aligned with your vision. You begin to think, act, and feel like the person you're visualizing. The more vividly you imagine your goals, the more natural they become. Sometimes negative thinking comes from past experiences. Pain, rejection, and failure leave emotional scars that shape how you see yourself. To move forward, you must forgive those moments, not because they were okay, but because holding on to them keeps your mind trapped in the past. Forgiveness frees your focus. It allows your energy to move toward what you can change instead of what you can't. You can't rewrite your past, but you can rewrite the meaning you give it. It's also important to challenge perfectionism. Many negative thoughts come from unrealistic standards. You think you should always be doing more, always be better, always be in control. But life doesn't work like that. Progress is messy. Growth is imperfect. You have to learn to celebrate effort, not just outcome. When you allow yourself to make mistakes without judgment, your thoughts become lighter. You start focusing on learning instead of criticizing yourself. Reprogramming your thoughts is not about ignoring negative, it's about transforming it. When you face a negative thought, use it as a signal that something needs attention. For example, if you're constantly thinking, "I'm not prepared," maybe that's your cue to plan better. If you're thinking, "I always fail," maybe that's a reminder to adjust your strategy, not your worth. Negative thoughts can serve as feedback when you learn to interpret them correctly. Your self-image is built from the thoughts you repeat. If you want to believe you're confident, capable, and worthy, start acting like it before you fully believe it. Behavior shapes belief. The more you act in alignment with the person you want to become, the faster your mind accepts it as truth. Take small actions that represent your future self. Set with confidence. Stand tall, keep promises. Over time, your mind begins to match your actions. You'll notice that as you practice this, old thought patterns will try to return. That's normal. The brain is wired to take the familiar path. Don't get discouraged when old doubts appear. Instead, remind yourself that every time you respond differently, you're creating a new pathway in your brain. Eventually, those old thoughts will lose their grip. Another important step is to stop predicting failure before it happens. Most negative thinkers live in the future, worrying about what might go wrong. They suffer twice, once in imagination and once in reality. Start training your mind to stay in the present. Handle what's in front of you now. When the future comes, you'll handle it with the strength you've built. Worrying doesn't prepare you, it weakens you. Preparation and panic are not the same. Your beliefs set the limits of your potential. If you believe you can improve, you will. If you believe you're stuck, you are. That's why you must protect your beliefs like a treasure. They determine how high you climb, how far you reach, and how much peace you live with. Every great change starts with the belief that it's possible. Reprogramming your mind takes patience. You won't erase years of negative thinking overnight, but every day you practice awareness, gratitude, and self-belief, you get stronger. You'll start to notice that problems don't control you as they once did. You'll catch yourself being calm in situations that used to break you. You'll start to think in ways that move you forward instead of holding you back. That's progress. In time, your thoughts become your allies instead of your enemies. They push you, encourage you, and remind you of your worth. You stop doubting and start trusting yourself. You stop living in reaction and start living with intention. That's the reward of reprogramming your thoughts. It gives you freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from comparison. Freedom from the limitations you once believed were real. So train your mind every day. Choose your words carefully. Question the thoughts that pull you down. Feed your mind with strength, not weakness. Keep doing it until those powerful beliefs become your natural state. Because the truth is, you are not your negative thoughts, you are the power that can change them. When you start thinking that way, life begins to move differently. Confidence grows, opportunities appear, and the world starts reflecting the strength you've built with it. That's what it means to reprogram negative thoughts into powerful beliefs. It's the moment you stop being a prisoner of your mind and start becoming its master. When that shift happens, everything changes. You stop waiting for life to get easier, and instead, you get stronger. You start living with clarity, purpose, and conviction. And from that point on, your mind becomes your greatest ally in building the life you truly deserve.
Chapter 4. Control your reactions when life tests your limits. There will be moments in life when everything you planned falls apart. Times when the pressure becomes unbearable, when nothing makes sense, and when the world feels like it's working against you. In those moments, your reactions define who you are. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. That's where your real power lies. Your reaction is your choice, and it can either destroy your peace or protect it. Learning to control your reactions when life tests your limits is one of the most powerful skills you'll ever develop. Every challenge, every setback, and every disappointment is an invitation to grow. It's easy to be calm when life is smooth. Anyone can smile when things are going well, but when life pushes you to the edge, when the noise is loud, when people test your patience, when results don't come despite your effort, that's when emotional control is tested. That's when you discover your true maturity. The person who controls their reaction doesn't escape pain. They master their mind enough to face it with strength. Most people react before they think. Something goes wrong, and immediately anger, frustration, or fear takes over. They shout, they quit, they blame, but reacting on impulse often makes things worse. Every reaction carries a consequence, and uncontrolled emotion usually leads to regret. When you learn to pause before responding, you give yourself the chance to choose a better outcome. That pause may only be a few seconds, but it can save relationships, protect your focus, and keep you moving forward instead of spiraling backward. The human mind is built to protect, not to reason in moments of stress. When something feels threatening, your brain releases emotion before logic. That's why you get defensive or angry so quickly. It's not weakness, it's biology. But just because it's natural doesn't mean it's helpful. You have to train your mind to stay calm when everything inside you wants to explode. The ability to remain steady while everything around you shakes is a form of strength that few people master. Control begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Start paying attention to your patterns. What situations trigger you the most? Who makes you lose your calm? What words or events make you react instantly? Awareness is the first step toward power. When you know your triggers, they stop catching you off guard. You begin to anticipate them and prepare your mind to respond differently. Instead of reacting automatically, you start responding intentionally. Another key to emotional control is understanding that other people's behavior is not about you. People act based on their own experiences, emotions, and insecurities. When someone says something hurtful or unfair, it's often a reflection of their state of mind, not your worth. But when you take everything personally, you hand them control over your emotions. You start living in reaction to others instead of direction from within. The more you practice detachment, the more peaceful you become. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to separate emotion from action. Feel the emotion, don't suppress it, but don't let it decide your next move. Anger, sadness, and frustration are natural, but they don't have to control your behavior. Take time to cool down. Breathe. Step away if needed. There's power in silence. Many situations resolve themselves when you stop feeding them with reaction. Control isn't about not feeling, it's about feeling deeply and choosing wisely. When life tests your limits, your mind tends to go into overdrive. It starts playing worst-case scenarios. You begin imagining everything that could go wrong.
This mental spiral drains your energy and clouds your judgment. To regain control, bring yourself back to the present. Ask, what's real right now? Not what might happen, not what someone said, but what's actually happening in this moment. Most of the time, the situation is not as catastrophic as your mind is making it. You also have to learn to manage expectation. Much of our frustration comes from expecting life to be fair or predictable. But life doesn't owe us perfect conditions. It's full of surprises, some pleasant, some painful. The sooner you accept that reality, the calmer you become. You stop fighting against what is and start working with it. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It means you choose to face it with clarity instead of resistance. Your reaction is shaped by what you focus on. If you focus on the problem, your emotions intensify. If you focus on what you can control, your power returns. Every time something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I do about it right now? That question shifts your energy from frustration to action. You may not be able to fix everything, but there's always one step you can take to improve your situation. Action is the best antidote to helplessness. Another way to strengthen your reactions is to practice emotional discipline daily. You don't wait for a crisis to train your mind. You train it through small, everyday challenges. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of reacting, practice patience. When things take longer than expected, breathe through it. When you face disappointment, remind yourself that emotions are temporary. Each small moment you handle with composure builds the foundation for bigger challenges later. Learn to use perspective as a tool. When something frustrates you, ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? Most things that upset us lose meaning with time. We waste energy on minor frustrations that don't deserve it. Keeping perspective protects your peace. It helps you focus on what truly matters instead of what's just passing by. It's also important to control the stories you tell yourself during difficult moments. When life tests you, your mind creates narratives. This always happens to me, I'll never make it, I can't handle this. These stories make the situation worse. Replace them with empowering truth. Tell yourself, I've handled tough things before, or this is hard but I can get through it. Your internal dialogue either calms your mind or fuels your chaos. Choose words that keep you grounded. Your reactions are also influenced by your physical state. When you're tired, hungry, or drained, you're more likely to lose control. Taking care of your body is part of emotional mastery. Get enough rest, move your body, and eat well. When your physical energy is balanced, your emotional stability improves. You can't control your reactions with an exhausted mind or an overworked body. Self-care is not weakness, it's preparation. Sometimes life will test you through people, difficult co-workers, family conflicts, misunderstandings. Not every battle deserves your energy. Learn to distinguish between what's worth addressing and what's better ignored. Silence can be more powerful than 1,000 arguments. Choose peace over being right. Winning every argument is not victory if it costs your inner calm. When you're pushed beyond your limits, remember that every test is shaping your strength. Pressure reveals character. Every time you stay composed under stress, you're building resilience. You're teaching your mind that it doesn't have to break every time something goes wrong. This is how you grow into emotional maturity, by choosing stability when chaos surrounds you. You can also control your reactions by using breathing as an anchor. When stress hits, your breathing becomes shallow and fast, which intensifies panic. Slowing down your breath tells your brain that you are safe. It lowers stress hormones and clears your thoughts. In tough moments, take deep, slow breaths. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. It gives you space between emotion and action, and that space is where wisdom lives. When dealing with setbacks, learn to separate what's urgent from what's important. Urgent emotions demand immediate reaction: anger, frustration, fear. Important actions require patience, thinking, planning, responding. The disciplined mind resists the urge to act on impulse. It waits until emotion fades and reason returns. You'll make better choices when you act from clarity instead of chaos. Another skill in controlling your reaction is developing emotional awareness instead of emotional denial. Many people suppress their feelings, pretending they're fine when they're not. But what you resist grows stronger. Acknowledge what you feel, name it, and then decide what to do with it. Saying "I feel angry" is different from saying "I am angry." The first acknowledges the emotion, the second identifies with it. You can feel something without becoming it. The way you interpret events determines your reaction. Two people can face the same challenge. One sees it as the end, the other sees it as a test. Perspective shapes response. When life tests you, look for the lesson. Ask, "What is this teaching me?" Every difficulty carries wisdom if you pay attention. Maybe it's teaching patience, humility, or self-control. When you see challenges as teachers instead of punishments, your reactions become calmer and more purposeful. Practice emotional detachment, not emotional coldness. Detachment means you care, but you don't cling. It means you participate in life fully, but accept that not everything will go your way. You stop trying to control outcomes and start managing your response to them. When you stop resisting what you can't change, peace finds you naturally. Over time, as you practice controlling your reactions, you'll notice a shift. You'll become less affected by small problems. People's negativity won't bother you as much. Situations that used to trigger you will lose their power. You'll start responding with patience instead of anger, with calm instead of panic. That's emotional growth. You're not numb. You're strong. One of the most powerful habits to develop is reflection. At the end of each day, review how you reacted to challenges. Did you respond with composure or emotion? What triggered you, and why? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. The more you analyze your reactions, the more control you gain next time. Self-awareness is a continuous practice, not a destination. Life will never stop testing you. The tests will just come in new forms. But every test you pass makes the next one easier. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can always control your attitude, your tone, your focus, and your choices. That's where freedom lives, in your ability to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. Remember that calmness is not weakness, it's confidence under pressure. When you control your reactions, you control your destiny. You stop being a puppet to emotions and become the author of your behavior. You gain respect from others, but more importantly, from yourself. When life pushes you beyond your comfort zone, breathe, pause, and remember your power. You are not at the mercy of events. You are the master of your response. Every time you stay calm in chaos, you rise above the moment and move closer to the person you're meant to become. That is how you pass life's greatest tests, not by avoiding them, but by meeting them with strength, grace, and control. That is the mark of a truly strong mind, the ability to stay centered when the world tries to pull you apart. You become a force that can't be shaken, not because life stopped challenging you, but because you learned how to face every challenge with peace in your heart and power in your mind.
Chapter 5. Build mental endurance through small daily wins. Mental endurance isn't built in one moment of inspiration or one burst of motivation. It's built in the quiet hours of everyday life. The mornings when you wake up and don't feel like moving, the afternoons when you're tired but keep going anyway, the nights when you review your day and promise yourself you'll do better tomorrow. It's those small, ordinary victories that shape extraordinary strength. Real mental toughness comes from repetition, from doing the right things even when no one notices, even when there's no reward waiting at the end of the day.
We often think strength comes from doing big things, but that's not true. Big achievements are only the result of hundreds of small, unseen victories. The mind learns endurance through consistency, not intensity. You don't train your mind by waiting for a crisis. You train it every day through small acts of commitment. The way you manage small tasks decides how you'll handle big challenges. If you keep quitting in the small moments, you'll collapse when life becomes heavy. But if you stay consistent with small wins, you build a foundation that nothing can shake. Each day gives you opportunities to train your endurance. It starts with choices. Do you get out of bed when the alarm rings, or do you hit snooze? Do you follow your plan, or do you give in to distractions? These moments may look insignificant, but they carry weight. Every choice tells your mind who's in control, you or your comfort. Every time you choose discipline over ease, your mental strength grows quietly inside you. You don't feel it instantly, but it's there, building layer by layer. Small daily wins are not about perfection, they're about direction. They remind your mind that progress is possible, even when it's slow. When you complete a simple task like reading a few pages of a book, exercising for 10 minutes, or finishing a project you've been avoiding, you send a message to your brain: I can finish what I start. That single belief transforms how you see yourself. Confidence doesn't come from talking about goals. It comes from proving to yourself that you can take consistent action toward them. The mind learns endurance through repetition. Just as muscles grow through daily resistance, your mental resilience grows through daily effort. Every time you push yourself a little more, when you work through boredom, when you keep your focus, when you finish what you begin, you strengthen the part of your brain responsible for perseverance. It's not about doing extraordinary things once. It's about doing ordinary things with purpose every single day. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for motivation to act. Motivation is unreliable, it's emotional, temporary, and easily disrupted. What builds endurance is routine. When you create structure in your life, you remove the need for constant motivation. You no longer wake up wondering what to do. You already know. Your mind thrives on structure because it removes confusion. You begin to move with consistency, not emotion. That consistency over time builds strength that feels unshakable. The secret to building mental endurance is to focus on what you can control today. Too many people get overwhelmed by the size of their goal. They think about everything they must do in the next year and end up doing nothing today. But endurance is built through the small things done repeatedly. If you win today, even in one small area, you've built momentum. That momentum becomes confidence, and confidence fuels progress. You don't need to conquer the whole mountain. You just need to take the next step. Small daily wins also rewire your brain to expect success. When you finish tasks, no matter how small, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good. That reward strengthens the habit loop, encouraging you to keep going. Over time, your brain begins to associate effort with satisfaction instead of exhaustion. You start to enjoy progress, and that's when endurance becomes natural. You stop fighting your habits because they start working for you. You can also build endurance by setting realistic expectations. Many people fail not because they're weak, but because they set goals so high that failure feels inevitable. When the mind experiences repeated failure, it begins to resist effort. But when you create achievable goals, each success builds confidence. The goal isn't to do everything at once, it's to do something every day. Start small, win often, and let those small wins build your strength for the bigger ones. The mind needs evidence to believe in itself. Every small victory becomes that evidence. When you stay consistent for days, weeks, or months, your brain collects proof that you are reliable. You begin to trust yourself more deeply. That trust is the foundation of endurance. Without self-trust, every setback feels like proof that you'll fail again. With it, every setback feels temporary. Endurance also grows through discomfort. You can't develop strength in a life of ease. Every time you face something uncomfortable and move through it, you expand your limit. It could be something as simple as waking up early, finishing a difficult workout, or having a tough conversation. Each time you do something hard on purpose, you tell your mind that struggle is not the enemy. It's part of growth. The more you expose yourself to manageable discomfort, the less fear controls you. To build mental endurance, you also need to manage how you talk to yourself. When you fail or fall behind, the inner critic often takes over. It says things like, "You're not good enough," or "You'll never be consistent." That voice destroys endurance faster than any obstacle. Replace self-criticism with encouragement. Talk to yourself the way a good coach would. When you fall, say, "I slipped today, but I'll get back on track tomorrow." The tone you use with yourself decides whether you'll quit or continue. You'll also need patience. Endurance isn't built overnight. It takes weeks, months, and years of steady effort. Impatience kills progress because it makes you believe that slow growth equals failure. But all meaningful change is slow. Nature doesn't rush, yet everything gets done. The same applies to your mind. Let time do its work. Each day of consistent effort adds up, even if the results aren't visible yet. Endurance is invisible progress. It's the strength forming beneath the surface. Your mental endurance also depends on how you recover. Rest is not a reward. It's part of the process. Without rest, your mind burns out, your focus weakens, and your discipline fades. Rest doesn't mean quitting. It means recharging so you can continue stronger. Sleep, reflection, quiet time, and moments of gratitude all help your mind reset. When you rest intentionally, you build sustainable strength instead of temporary momentum. Endurance is also built through reflection. Every evening, review your day. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What can I improve tomorrow? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. It keeps you aware of your progress and helps you make small adjustments. Those adjustments prevent burnout and keep your journey aligned with your purpose. Reflection also keeps your motivation rooted in reality. You see that even small steps are worth celebrating. One of the most powerful ways to strengthen endurance is by staying connected to your why. When the process feels boring or hard, your reason keeps you going. If you're only chasing results, you'll quit when progress slows. But if you're driven by purpose, you'll keep moving because the process itself has meaning. Know why you're doing what you're doing, and remind yourself often. Purpose gives pain a reason, and with a reason, you can endure almost anything. Endurance also grows when you track your win. Keep a record of your small victories. Write them down. Seeing your progress visually reminds your mind that you are improving, even if it feels slow. That visible proof keeps your confidence alive during tough times. Progress is often invisible until you look back and realize how far you've come. To build mental endurance, learn to enjoy the journey. When you treat every small action as something meaningful, life becomes more fulfilling. You stop rushing toward the end and start finding pride in the process. Success feels lighter when it's built from daily discipline instead of pressure. When you enjoy small wins, your motivation becomes self-sustaining. You stop forcing effort and start flowing with it. You can also use obstacles as training. When something goes wrong, instead of getting discouraged, ask yourself, how can this help me grow stronger? Challenges are endurance workouts for the mind. Every time you adapt, you build flexibility. Flexibility is part of mental endurance. It's what keeps you standing when life changes direction. Sometimes endurance means showing up without seeing progress. There will be days when your effort seems to produce no result. Those are the moments that test your faith in yourself. Keep showing up anyway. Each day you continue despite doubt builds more strength than any easy day ever could. The habit of persistence becomes who you are. To keep your endurance growing, remove distractions that waste your focus. Every unnecessary interruption drains your energy and reduces your ability to stay consistent. Protect your focus like it's a resource. Because it is. Create routines that minimize decision fatigue. The fewer decisions you have to make daily, the more mental energy you save for what matters. Another important part of endurance is humility. You don't have to prove yourself every day. Some days you'll move fast. Other days you'll crawl. Progress is not always visible, but it's always building if you're consistent. Be patient enough to trust the process. Humility allows you to grow without comparing yourself to others. You focus on your journey instead of getting distracted by theirs. Mental endurance also comes from gratitude. It's easier to keep going when you appreciate how far you've come. Gratitude reminds your mind that you're capable, that you've already overcome challenges before. When you focus on what's working instead of what's missing, you fuel your resilience. Gratitude gives you strength, because it replaces frustration with perspective. In time, the small daily wins start changing how you see yourself. You begin to believe that you're capable of anything you set your mind to. That belief changes everything. You no longer rely on luck or external motivation. You rely on your habits. You become someone who trusts effort over outcome, process over perfection. The truth is, endurance is not something you're born with. It's something you earn. Every small action, every completed task, every quiet victory adds another layer to your strength. You may not notice it at first, but one day, you'll face a big challenge and realize that you're calm, confident and capable. You'll realize that all those small wins built a mind that doesn't quit easily. Building mental endurance through small daily wins is about showing up for yourself. It's about proving every day that you're in control of your direction. You don't wait for strength. You create. You don't wait for motivation. You build habits that make motivation unnecessary. And day by day, win by win, you turn into the kind of person who doesn't give up, no matter how long the journey takes. That's the real secret of growth. Not dramatic changes, not sudden breakthroughs, just small, consistent actions done with intention. Over time, those small victories add up to a life of stability, confidence and power. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you've trained your mind to endure through every season. That's how true strength is built. Quietly, daily, through the small wins that no one else sees but that change everything within you.
Chapter 6. Turn self-doubt into unbreakable self-confidence. Self-doubt is one of the quietest yet most powerful barriers to success. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you that you're not ready, not good enough, not capable. It makes you hesitate when you should move, hold back when you should act, and question yourself when you already know the answer. The truth is, every person who has ever done something meaningful has faced self-doubt. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who grow is that one group listens to it, and the other learns to turn it into fuel. Turning self-doubt into unbreakable self-confidence is not about pretending to be fearless. It's about learning to take action, even when fear speaks loudly. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build, one decision at a time. It grows when you do the things that scare you. It grows when you trust yourself even when results are uncertain. Self-doubt appears every time you step into something new, because your brain is designed to protect you from discomfort. It warns you, this could go wrong. But what your mind calls danger is often just growth in disguise. You have to teach your brain that discomfort isn't danger, it's the price of progress. Every time you act despite doubt, you weaken fear's grip and strengthen belief. To understand self-doubt, you have to see where it comes from. It doesn't start overnight. It's built from years of criticism, rejection, comparison, and failure. Somewhere along the line, someone made you feel that your best wasn't enough. Maybe you failed once, and instead of seeing it as part of learning, you turned it into proof that you weren't capable. But here's the truth. Self-doubt is just an outdated story your mind keeps repeating. It's not fact, it's memory. And memories can be rewritten through experience. The first step to transforming self-doubt is awareness.
Most people don't even realize how much they talk themselves out of success. They say things like, "I'm not ready, I'll never be like them," or "what if I fail," without noticing how those words shape their reality. Start paying attention to the language you use with yourself. If you spoke to a friend the way you speak to yourself, would they feel supported or discouraged? You can't build confidence on a foundation of criticism. The mind becomes what it hears most often, so it's time to start speaking strength into your own life. Confidence begins with honesty. It's not about pretending you have no flaws, it's about accepting them without judgment. People think confidence means never doubting yourself. That's false. Confidence means doubting less and recovering faster when you do. It's knowing that mistakes don't define you, they teach you. When you stop expecting perfection and start valuing progress, you begin to trust yourself again. You stop fearing failure because you realize that every step, even the wrong one, moves you closer to growth. One of the fastest ways to build confidence is through competence. Every skill you master reduces fear. Doubt fades when preparation rises. Learn more, practice more, prepare more. The more capable you become, the quieter your insecurities get. People often wait to feel confident before they take action, but it doesn't work that way. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. You don't become confident and then speak up, you speak up until confidence develops. You don't become brave and then take the risk, you take the risk and realize you survived. That's how confidence is built, through experience, not emotion. To overcome self-doubt, stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Confidence dies when comparison lives. Every person has a different path, timeline and set of challenges. You can't measure your worth against someone else's journey. The person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. That's the only competition that matters. Every small improvement is a win, and those wins build genuine confidence. Confidence rooted in progress, not in ego. You must also learn to replace perfectionism with effort. Self-doubt thrives in the gap between who you are and who you think you should be. You tell yourself you'll act when you're more skilled, more experienced, or more prepared. But the truth is, you'll never feel perfectly ready. The people who succeed are not those without doubt, they're the ones who start anyway. Confidence doesn't come from waiting until you're perfect, it comes from moving while you're still uncertain. Another key to building self-confidence is keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and follow through, your self-trust grows. Every time you break that promise, you teach your mind that your word doesn't matter. Confidence isn't built from big achievements, it's built from consistency. Wake up when you said you would. Finish what you started. Keep your commitments even when no one is watching. Each fulfilled promise becomes a brick in the foundation of your self-belief. To turn doubt into strength, you must change your focus. When doubt appears, your mind fixates on what could go wrong. Shift your focus to what could go right. Picture yourself succeeding. See the benefits of pushing forward instead of the consequences of failing. This mental shift rewires your brain from fear-based thinking to possibility-based thinking. The brain can only focus on one dominant image at a time. Make sure it's a powerful one. Confidence also grows when you embrace vulnerability. Admitting you don't have all the answers takes courage. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It shows you're serious about growth. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not pretending to know everything. It's saying, "I'm learning, and I'm willing to improve." True confidence is humble. It doesn't need to prove, it just acts. Your body language also affects how confident you feel. The way you stand, walk, and breathe influences your emotions. Straighten your posture, lift your head, make eye contact, and take slower, deeper breaths. These small adjustments signal to your brain that you're in control. Physical confidence creates mental confidence. You send a message to your mind that you're ready for what's ahead. Over time, your body and mind begin to work together instead of against each other. You can also strengthen your confidence through reflection. Think back to times when you succeeded despite fear. Remember the moments you handled situations you once thought you couldn't. Those memories are proof that you're stronger than your mind tells you. When doubt rises, remind yourself of the evidence. The brain needs reminders of past victories to trust future ones. Each time you revisit your wins, you reinforce belief in your ability to rise again. Building unbreakable confidence also requires patience. Growth takes time. Confidence is built slowly, through repetition. Don't rush the process. Every time you push through doubt, even in small ways, you're laying another layer of strength. It's like adding drops of water to a bucket. One drop seems small, but over time it fills. Your confidence builds the same way, quietly, steadily, through consistent action. You must also protect your confidence from negativity. Surround yourself with people who encourage growth, not those who feed your insecurities. Energy is contagious. Spend time with people who remind you of your strength, not your flaws. Protect your mind from environments that make you feel small. You can't build confidence in a place that constantly reminds you to doubt yourself. Choose relationships that build your courage instead of draining it. Self-doubt often grows from fear of judgment. You worry about what others might think if you fail. But here's the truth. Most people are too focused on their own lives to analyze yours. And even if they do judge, their opinion doesn't define your worth. The moment you stop living for approval, your confidence starts to expand. You free yourself from the need to impress and start focusing on the need to progress. To keep growing, you have to practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when you make mistakes. Confidence doesn't mean never falling. It means knowing you can rise after you do. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend going through a tough time. You can't build strength from shame. Forgive your missteps and learn from them. Self-compassion keeps your confidence alive even in moments of struggle. Another way to replace doubt with confidence is to act on your values. When your actions align with what you believe in, you feel grounded. You stop chasing approval because your choices reflect your truth. Integrity breeds confidence because you no longer need validation. You already have self-respect. Confidence built on authenticity cannot be shaken by others' opinions. You also need to redefine failure. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every person who has achieved something great has failed many times. The difference is that they didn't turn failure into identity. They used it as feedback. When you stop fearing failure and start learning from it, doubt loses its power. You begin to see each mistake as a stepping stone, not a setback. As you build confidence, your self-talk must evolve. Replace the voice that says, "I can't do this," with "I can figure this out." Replace "I'm not enough" with "I'm growing." These words matter more than you think. They rewire your emotional state and strengthen your mindset. Over time, these new thought patterns become your natural way of thinking. To maintain unbreakable confidence, you have to stay connected to growth. Confidence without growth becomes arrogance. Confidence with humility becomes wisdom. Keep learning, keep improving, and keep challenging yourself. Every new skill, every new experience adds another layer of belief. Growth is fuel for confidence. It keeps it alive and expanding. One of the greatest ways to build self-confidence is to serve others. When you use your strengths to help people, you stop obsessing over your insecurities. Contribution shifts your focus outward. You realize that confidence isn't just about believing in yourself. It's about believing that what you have can make a difference. The more you serve, the more meaningful your confidence becomes. You'll notice that as your confidence grows, your energy changes.
You start walking into rooms differently. You stop needing validation. You trust your instincts. You take more chance. Life begins to feel lighter, not because it's easier, but because you've stopped carrying the weight of doubt. That transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen for those who keep practicing belief every single day. In the end, turning self-doubt into unbreakable self-confidence is a lifelong practice. It's built through awareness, action, repetition, and reflection. It's built by choosing courage over fear, by doing small things that prove to your mind that you can handle more than it thinks. And with time, you stop just believing in confidence. You become it. You live it in the way you speak, move, decide, and lead. The day you realize that you no longer need permission to believe in yourself is the day your life begins to shift. Because when self-doubt turns into self-confidence, everything changes. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop asking for approval. And you start acting with purpose. And that's the kind of confidence that no failure, no judgment, and no setback can ever take away from you.
Chapter 7. Develop emotional control to handle any situation. Emotional control is one of the most important skills a person can ever develop. It determines how you think, how you communicate, how you make decisions, and how you build relationships. The truth is, life will always challenge your emotions. People will say things that hurt you, circumstances will test your patience, and situations will appear unfair. But your power lies not in avoiding emotions, it lies in mastering them. When you learn to control your emotions, you no longer live in reaction, you live in direction. You stop being tossed around by what happens and start responding from a place of calm strength. Most people think emotional control means suppressing feelings, but it doesn't. It means understanding your emotions, managing them, and expressing them wisely. Suppression creates pressure. Awareness creates peace. When you deny what you feel, those emotions build up and eventually explode. But when you acknowledge them and decide how to handle them, they lose their control over you. Emotional control doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop being controlled by what you feel. Every emotion you experience serves a purpose. Anger shows you where your boundaries are being crossed. Fear highlights where growth is needed. Sadness reminds you of what matters most. Anxiety warns you when something is out of balance. Emotions are signals, not commands. They're information, not instructions. You can listen to them without obeying them. Once you realize this, you stop letting emotions dictate your actions and start using them as tools for understanding yourself. The first step to developing emotional control is awareness. You must recognize what you're feeling in the moment instead of reacting automatically. Many people live unconsciously. They respond before they even know what's happening inside them. When something irritates them, they lash out. When something scares them, they run away. But awareness creates space between feeling and reaction. That space gives you power. It allows you to think clearly before acting. Start by naming your emotions. When you feel anger, say to yourself, I'm feeling angry. When you feel anxious, say, I'm feeling anxious. This may sound simple, but naming emotions activates the rational part of your brain. It lowers the intensity of the emotion and gives you control over it. Instead of being consumed by the feeling, you become the observer. You shift from being emotional to being mindful. The next step is to identify what triggered the emotion. Emotions don't appear out of nowhere. They're responses to something. Maybe someone's words reminded you of a past experience. Maybe an unexpected situation challenged your sense of control. When you understand the trigger, you can address the root cause instead of fighting the symptom. For example, if criticism makes you defensive, the real issue might not be the comment. It might be your fear of not being enough. Awareness helps you see the difference. Once you know the emotion and its cause, practice regulating it. Regulation doesn't mean pretending you're fine. It means choosing a healthy way to express or release the emotion. If you're angry, take a walk, breathe deeply,
or write your thoughts down before speaking. If you're sad, allow yourself to feel it, but don't drown in it. Give yourself time to process, but also remind yourself that no emotion is permanent. Feelings are like weather. They pass when you don't hold on to them. Breathing is one of the most powerful tools for emotional control. When you're upset, your breathing becomes shallow, which increases tension. Deep breathing slows your heart rate and signals your brain that you're safe. It's simple, but effective. In moments of stress, take slow, controlled breaths. Count to 4 as you inhale, hold for 4 and exhale for 4. This small act can completely shift your emotional state. It brings you back to the present and helps your mind regain clarity. Emotional control also comes from perspective. When emotions rise, the mind exaggerates situations. A small problem feels enormous. One mistake feels like failure. But when you step back and see the bigger picture, the emotion loses intensity. Ask yourself, will this matter next week, next month, next year? Most of the time, what feels overwhelming now will fade with time. Keeping perspective allows you to handle situations with calmness and wisdom. Another way to strengthen emotional control is by managing your inner dialogue. Your thoughts feed your emotions. If you constantly think this is unfair or I can't handle this, you're fueling anger and anxiety. Replace those thoughts with empowering questions. What can I learn from this? Or how can I handle this better? These questions shift your focus from reaction to resolution. The more you guide your thoughts, the more you guide your emotion. You can also improve emotional control by practicing patience. Most emotional outbursts come from impatience, wanting things to happen your way right now, but life rarely moves at our pace. When you develop patience, you create emotional distance between stimulus and response. You stop being reactive and start being deliberate. When something frustrates you, instead of reacting immediately, pause. That pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the mark of emotional maturity. Emotional control is tested most when dealing with people. Not everyone will treat you kindly. Some will misunderstand you, insult you, or try to provoke you. The emotionally weak react to every comment. The emotionally strong choose what deserves their energy. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Walk away, not because you're powerless, but because your peace is too valuable to trade for someone else's chaos. Learn to accept that you cannot control other people's behavior, only your response to it. Trying to control others will exhaust you. The moment you stop needing people to behave a certain way to feel calm, you take your power back. You become emotionally independent. You realize that your peace doesn't depend on what others say or do. It depends on the stability you build inside yourself. To handle any situation calmly, train your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems. When something goes wrong, most people get stuck replaying the issue in their head. They complain, blame, and worry. But that does nothing. Shift your energy to finding what can be done. Ask, what's the next step? That simple question brings focus and control back to your mind. You can't always fix everything, but you can always take one step forward. Another key to emotional control is understanding your physical state. Sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, and lack of exercise make you more reactive. When your body is exhausted, even small problems feel massive. Taking care of your physical health directly supports your emotional stability. Eat well, stay hydrated, and move your body regularly. A balanced body helps create a balanced mind. Gratitude also helps you manage emotions effectively. It's hard to be consumed by frustration when you're genuinely thankful. When you focus on what's good, your emotional state naturally improves. Make it a daily habit to notice small blessings. A quiet morning, a supportive friend, a completed task. Gratitude doesn't erase difficulty, but it gives you perspective. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, and that shift brings calmness. When you face difficult situations, remind yourself that your reaction shapes your outcome. You can't control the storm, but you can control your posture in it. If you respond with panic, you lose clarity.
If you respond with composure, you think better and act smarter. Your emotional state either solves problems or makes them worse. Choose the response that helps, not the one that harms. Emotional control also requires letting go of the need to be right all the time. Many conflicts last longer than they should, because people want to win the argument instead of understanding the situation. The need to prove yourself creates unnecessary stress. Sometimes peace is more valuable than being right. You don't have to respond to everything that offends you. Sometimes the best reaction is no reaction at all. Learn to forgive, not because others always deserve it, but because holding on to resentment poisons your mind. Anger that stays unresolved turns into bitterness, and bitterness clouds your judgment. Forgiveness frees your emotional energy, so you can focus on what truly matters. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. You let go not to excuse someone else, but to protect your own peace. You can also strengthen emotional control by setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They protect your mental and emotional space. Know when to step away from toxic environments or negative conversations. The more you protect your energy, the easier it becomes to stay emotionally balanced. You can't stay calm in chaos if you keep surrounding yourself with people who thrive on drama. Reflection is another powerful practice for emotional growth. At the end of each day, review how you handled your emotion. Ask yourself what triggered you, how you responded, and what you could improve next time. Reflection turns every experience into a lesson. You start recognizing patterns, what situations you and strain you, and what restores you. With time, this awareness sharpens your control. You begin to respond with purpose instead of impulse. Developing emotional control also means learning how to detach from outcomes. You can give your best, plan carefully, and still not get the result you expected. When you tie your peace to results, you live in constant frustration. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring without losing balance. You do your best, and trust that whatever happens, you'll handle it. That mindset keeps you calm in uncertainty. Confidence plays a role in emotional control too. When you trust yourself, you don't overreact to challenges. You believe you can figure things out, and that belief creates calmness. Doubt magnifies emotion. Confidence stabilizes it. The more you practice self-trust, the easier it becomes to stay centered when life gets chaotic. You also have to practice empathy. When you understand that everyone is fighting their own battles, you become less reactive. You stop taking things personally. You start responding with patience instead of anger. Empathy doesn't mean allowing mistreatment. It means seeing situations with understanding instead of instant judgment. That shift reduces emotional tension and improves communication. In moments of high stress, remind yourself that emotions are temporary. No matter how intense they feel, they always pass. Time weakens emotional charge. When you hold on to the truth that every emotion is temporary, you stop reacting to them as if they're permanent. You learn to ride the wave instead of drowning in it. Over time, the more you practice awareness, patience, and reflection, the more emotionally strong you become. You'll notice that things that once disturbed you no longer do. Situations that used to cause anger now bring understanding. You'll respond to life's challenges with a calm confidence that others will notice. That's emotional mastery, not the absence of emotion, but the presence of balance. Emotional control doesn't make you cold or detached. It makes you wise and steady. It helps you lead better, think clearer, and live with more peace. You become the kind of person who brings calm into chaotic environments, who handles challenges without breaking, and who stays grounded no matter what's happening around them. And that's the ultimate goal: to reach a level of maturity, where emotions serve you, not sabotage you, where you can face any situation, pain, stress, or uncertainty, and respond with clarity instead of confusion. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. You stop reacting to the world, and you start shaping. That is true power, the quiet strength of a mind that remains calm while everything else moves around it.
Chapter 8. Direct your mind toward possibility and progress. Your mind is the most powerful tool you own, but it can also be the most destructive if left untrained. The direction your thoughts take determines the direction of your life. When your mind constantly focuses on what's missing, what's broken, or what could go wrong, you become stuck in limitation. But when you train your mind to see possibility and progress, even in difficult times, you begin to unlock your full potential. Directing your mind toward possibility doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means focusing your attention on what can be done instead of what can't. It's about shifting from why me to what can I do next. That small change in direction transforms everything about how you live, work, and grow. The human mind naturally leans toward fear and doubt. It looks for what might go wrong, because that's how it protects you from danger. But in a world where most threats are not physical, that same instinct limits growth. You must consciously retrain your thoughts to look for opportunities, not just obstacles. When you encounter a setback, your mind will immediately tell you to stop. You have to counter it by asking, "What's the next best step I can take?" That question brings clarity. It moves you out of paralysis and into action. Action builds momentum, and momentum builds belief. Possibility thinking is not about fantasy or blind optimism. It's about seeing things as they are, but never worse than they are, and then doing what you can to make them better. When you direct your mind toward progress, you stop waiting for perfect conditions. You start where you are, with what you have, and you keep improving from there. Most people waste years waiting for motivation, for support, or for the right time. The truth is, progress begins the moment you decide to move. You don't need the whole plan. You just need the first step. The mind becomes what you feed it. If you constantly fill it with negativity, fear, and doubt, it will respond with hesitation and insecurity. If you fill it with purpose, learning, and gratitude, it will respond with focus and determination. Every thought is a seed. Plant enough thoughts of possibility, and your mind becomes a garden of progress. The challenge is consistency. You can't think positively once and expect transformation. You have to do it every day, especially when life feels heavy. When you direct your mind toward growth, you start seeing failure differently. Instead of seeing it as a sign to stop, you see it as feedback. Each mistake becomes a lesson, not a label. That's what keeps you moving forward while others quit. Growth-minded people aren't immune to failure. They just don't take it personally. They understand that failure is part of learning. Every setback teaches them what doesn't work, bringing them closer to what does. Directing your mind toward possibility also means controlling your focus. You can't focus on progress while you're constantly distracted by negativity, whether it's from the news, toxic people, or your own self-talk. What you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, they'll seem bigger. If you focus on solutions, you'll start finding them everywhere. Focus isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing where to put your mental energy. Every day you have a limited amount of focus. Spend it wisely. To train your mind for possibility, start with gratitude. Gratitude grounds your thoughts in abundance instead of lack. It reminds you that even when things aren't perfect, there's still something working in your favor. Each morning, think about 3 things you're thankful for. Not big things, just real ones. Maybe it's your health, a chance to try again, or someone who believes in you. Gratitude doesn't make problems disappear, but it gives you the strength to face them with perspective. Another powerful way to direct your mind is through intentional language. The words you use shape your reality. When you say "I can't," your brain stops looking for solution. When you say "How can I," your brain starts searching for answers. Replace helpless language with empowering questions. Instead of saying, "I'll never figure this out," say, "What can I try next?" Your words send instructions to your brain. It listens to you more than anyone else does. Visualization is another effective tool. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between real experience and vividly imagined experience. When you regularly visualize yourself making progress, you strengthen the neural pathways
associated with success. Close your eyes and see yourself finishing what you start, achieving your goals, and handling challenges with confidence. The more real it feels in your mind, the more your actions begin to align with it. That's how athletes, leaders, and creators prepare mentally for success. They see it before it happens. Progress also requires patience. The mind loves quick results, but real growth takes time. If you focus only on outcomes, you'll feel frustrated when progress seems slow. Instead, train your mind to value the process. Every small improvement matters. Each step forward is progress, even if it's not visible yet. When you celebrate small wins, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. This keeps you motivated long enough to achieve the big wins. To maintain a mind focused on possibility, you need to protect your environment. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, and the conversations you engage in, all influence your mindset. If you surround yourself with negativity, your mind will shrink to match it. But when you surround yourself with growth-minded individuals, their energy lifts you. You start to think bigger, aim higher, and believe deeper. Guard your mind as carefully as you would guard your most valuable possession, because it is another step toward possibility. Thinking is detaching from perfection. Progress dies in perfectionism. The need to have everything figured out before acting keeps people trapped. You have to allow imperfection. Take messy action. Learn as you go. Growth is not a straight line. It's a process of trial, adjustment, and persistence. The mind becomes stronger when it's tested, not when it's protected. The more you act despite uncertainty, the more resilient you become. One important part of mental direction is awareness of your self-image. Your actions will always follow your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, your brain will find reasons to confirm that belief. But if you see yourself as someone who improves daily, your mind will look for evidence of growth. You become who you believe yourself to be. Begin telling yourself a better story, not based on where you are, but on who you're becoming. Possibility and progress also grow through curiosity. When you face something new, instead of thinking, "I can't do this," ask, "What can I learn here?" Curiosity replaces fear with fascination. It keeps your mind open, flexible, and alive. People who stay curious never stop growing, because they see every challenge as an opportunity to expand their understanding. The moment you stop learning, your mind starts closing. Stay curious, and you'll always find a way forward. You can also use reflection as a tool for progress. Each evening, take a few minutes to think about what went well, what you learned, and what you can improve tomorrow. Reflection builds awareness, and awareness directs growth. The more you understand your patterns, your habits, thoughts, and emotions, the more control you have over them. Progress doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. It's important to remember that directing your mind toward progress doesn't mean ignoring negative emotions. It means learning how to process them without letting them take over. When frustration appears, don't fight it, acknowledge it, understand it, and then redirect your focus. The goal isn't to suppress emotion, but to channel it. Energy is energy. Whether it becomes destruction or creation depends on where you direct it. Every person has moments of doubt and fear, but possibility thinkers handle them differently. They don't allow temporary feelings to define their future. They use fear as a signal that something important is at stake. Instead of backing away, they move forward with awareness. They understand that the presence of fear doesn't mean failure. It means growth is near. When you feel afraid, it's a sign that you're stepping into something new. Use it as motivation, not limitation. To strengthen your ability to see possibility, practice focusing on progress over perfection. In others too. Encourage people around you when they're trying, not just when they succeed. When you focus on growth in others, you naturally begin to see it in yourself. The more you contribute to other people's progress, the more your mind becomes wired for positive expectation. You also have to challenge your limiting beliefs. Most limits exist only in your mind. They were formed from past experiences or someone else's opinion. Start questioning them. Ask, is this belief helping me move forward or holding me back? Many of your doubts lose power the moment you challenge them with logic. Replace limiting thoughts with new empowering ones, and repeat them daily until they become your new truth. Directing your mind toward possibility requires discipline. The world constantly throws distractions and negativity your way. You have to make a conscious effort to choose better thoughts. When you catch yourself focusing on problems, stop and ask, what can I do right now? The more often you redirect, the stronger your mental muscles become. Just like physical training, repetition builds endurance. Over time, as you practice possibility thinking, your reactions to life start changing. You begin to expect good things instead of waiting for disaster. You become solution-oriented. Challenges that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. You start seeing opportunity where others see limitation. That's the power of a trained mind. It bends reality toward growth. Progress is not about speed. It's about direction. Even small steps in the right direction compound into big change over time. Every day, ask yourself one simple question. Did I move forward today? It doesn't matter how much, as long as it's forward. A small improvement every day beats a burst of effort, followed by exhaustion. The consistency of forward motion builds unstoppable confidence. Eventually, you'll realize that possibility isn't something you find. It's something you create. It exists in how you think, how you speak, and how you act. Every time you choose hope over fear, curiosity over judgment, and progress over perfection, you expand what's possible for your life. Directing your mind toward possibility and progress is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong practice. It's about deciding every single day to see the potential in yourself and your circumstances. When your mind learns to expect growth instead of failure, you move through life with power, clarity, and peace. You stop waiting for better days and start creating them. That's when you discover what's truly possible, not just in the world, but within yourself.
Chapter 9. Keep showing up, even when you feel tired. There are days when the body feels heavy and the mind feels slow. Days when the motivation that once drove you forward is nowhere to be found. Those are the days that truly define who you are. Anyone can show up when they're excited, inspired, and full of energy, but the real measure of strength is whether you can show up when you're tired, uncertain, or drained. Because progress doesn't depend on perfect conditions. It depends on persistence. The moments when you feel like doing nothing are the moments that shape your discipline the most. That's when you either feed your excuses or feed your growth. When you feel tired, your mind starts to whisper stories to you. It tells you to take it easy, to skip today, to rest just for a while. That voice sounds comforting, but it's dangerous when it turns into a habit. Because one skipped day often becomes two, and before you know it, you've lost your rhythm. The truth is, it's not exhaustion that breaks most people. It's inconsistency. Consistency builds results. Inconsistency erases them. The difference between the person who succeeds and the person who doesn't is often just one extra day of effort. There's a kind of quiet power in showing up, even when you don't feel ready. It's not about pushing yourself to exhaustion or ignoring rest. It's about honoring your commitment. You made a promise to yourself to improve, to grow, to reach higher, and keeping that promise builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up, even tired, you reinforce that trust. You remind your mind that your word matters. That self-respect is the foundation of all success. Fatigue is part of any meaningful journey,
Growth takes energy, and sometimes that energy runs low. But tired doesn't mean finished. Being tired just means you're human. It means you've been working, trying, stretching beyond what's easy. And that's something to be proud of. The key is to learn how to keep moving without burning out. You don't need to move fast, you just need to move forward. Even small steps count when you take them consistently. When you're tired, your mind often exaggerates how hard things are. Everything feels heavier because your energy is low. In those moments, it's not about doing everything, it's about doing something. Maybe it's reading a few pages instead of a whole book, writing one paragraph instead of 5, taking one small action instead of finishing the entire task. The act of showing up keeps your momentum alive. Once you stop completely, restarting becomes 10 times harder. The mind is like a muscle, it strengthens through use. Every time you push yourself to show up, even in discomfort, you build mental endurance. You're teaching your brain that effort is not optional. You're building a habit of resilience. People often wait for motivation, but motivation is unreliable. It fades when you're tired. Discipline, however, stays. Discipline is doing what needs to be done long after the excitement has gone. When you're tired, remember your reason. Why did you start? Why does this goal matter? Why is it worth it? Fatigue clouds perspective, and when perspective fades, quitting seems reasonable. Reconnecting with your purpose renews your strength. You don't need endless energy, you need a reason that matters deeply enough to keep you moving. A strong why can carry you through any how. Another way to handle exhaustion is to adjust your pace, not your goal. Some days you'll move fast, and other days you'll move slowly. That's fine. Progress doesn't need to be intense, it just needs to be consistent. When you can't give 100%, give whatever you can. Some days that's 80%, some days it's 20%. But if you keep showing up, even with less energy, you maintain your rhythm. The habit stays alive. There's something powerful about momentum. It feeds itself. Once you start moving, even in small ways, your energy begins to return. The hardest part is beginning. When you sit still, fatigue grows. When you take action, even minimal action, you start to feel better. Momentum is built one decision at a time. You don't have to conquer the day, you just have to begin. You'll also notice that tiredness often isn't just physical, it's emotional. Mental fatigue comes from overthinking, from carrying worries and pressures that drain your energy. Sometimes the best way to renew yourself is not by stopping everything, but by changing focus. Instead of dwelling on how hard it is, remind yourself of the progress you've already made. Gratitude renews energy. Recognizing how far you've come fuels the will to keep going. Rest is important, but rest should serve recovery, not avoidance. There's a difference between resting to recharge and resting to escape. When you rest intentionally, with a plan to return, you come back stronger. When you rest as a way of avoiding effort, you lose momentum. Learn to rest actively. Use rest as part of your growth process, not as an excuse to stop it. Sometimes the reason you feel tired is that you're carrying unnecessary weight. Not physical weight, but emotional baggage, guilt, fear, perfectionism, or self-doubt. These drain your energy more than hard work ever could. Letting go of them gives you space to breathe. You don't have to do everything perfectly, you just have to do something sincerely. When you stop expecting perfection, you conserve energy for what actually matters. The mind also feeds on direction. When you're tired, it helps to simplify your focus. Don't think about everything you have to do, think about the one thing you need to do next. Big goals are intimidating when your energy is low. But one small action, that's manageable. The secret to staying consistent while tired is breaking things down into small, doable steps. Each small win restores motivation.
You have to be aware of your self-talk when fatigue sets in. The mind loves to create stories when you're tired. Stories like "I can't do this" or "I'll start tomorrow." Those thoughts sound harmless, but they shape your behavior. Instead, replace them with gentle truth. "I may be tired, but I can still try. I'll give what I can today." These words don't deny the fatigue. They just refuse to surrender to it. Remember that persistence is not about force, it's about rhythm. You don't have to push yourself to exhaustion, you just have to keep your commitment alive. The people who go the distance aren't the ones who sprint, they're the ones who walk steadily, one day after another. Even when it's inconvenient, persistence is quiet. It doesn't shout or show off. It just keeps showing up. On days when you feel completely drained, shift your focus from outcomes to effort. Instead of worrying about how much you can achieve, focus on maintaining your habit. The goal is not perfection, it's present. When you show up, even for a little, you're telling yourself that you're still in the game. You're refusing to let tiredness dictate your story. And that decision, made repeatedly, creates unstoppable strength. Another important factor in handling fatigue is perspective. Tiredness is temporary, but the results of consistency last long. Every great achievement came from someone who kept showing up long after the excitement faded. The athlete who trains on off days, the writer who writes when inspiration is gone, the parent who keeps giving their best no matter how worn out they feel. Greatness is not built on perfect days, it's built on persistent ones. You must also learn to recognize the difference between real fatigue and mental resistance. Real fatigue means your body truly needs rest. Mental resistance means your mind is just seeking comfort. Learn to listen carefully. If you're physically exhausted, rest and recover. If you're mentally resisting, act anyway. Once you start, the resistance often disappears. Movement breaks mental barriers faster than overthinking ever could. Sometimes, you'll need to remind yourself that the work you're doing matters, even if results aren't visible yet. Progress often hides behind effort you can't see. Seeds grow underground long before they break the surface. The same is true for your goals. Keep nurturing them. Even small effort contributes to the bigger picture. You may not see growth every day, but it's happening. When fatigue feels overwhelming, use structure. Routines simplify decisions. They reduce the mental effort needed to act. When you have a routine, showing up becomes automatic. You no longer negotiate with yourself about whether to work. You just do it because it's part of your identity. Routines protect you from emotional fluctuations. They make consistency easier than inconsistency. There will be days when your best feels small. That's okay. Your best changes depending on the day. What matters is that you give what you can, not what you wish you could. Every effort counts. When you look back later, you'll realize that those small tired days were actually the days that built your foundation. Those moments of quiet persistence become the hidden pillars of your success. It's also essential to maintain balance. Working hard doesn't mean neglecting yourself. Nourish your body, feed your mind, and take care of your emotions. When you feel tired often, check what's draining you. Maybe it's lack of sleep, poor nutrition, or unnecessary stress. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself, not to escape the work, but to sustain it. Keeping your purpose visible helps you move through exhaustion. Write down your goals. Place reminders where you can see them daily. On tough days, reading those words reignites your fire. They remind you that every bit of effort is a step towards something meaningful. Purpose brings strength. When energy is low, it gives meaning to the struggle. When you consistently show up tired, something beautiful happens. You stop relying on emotion to act. You start relying on identity. You act not because you feel ready, but because you've decided who you are. You've become the kind of person who follows through, no matter what. And that identity is far stronger than any temporary feeling. Every person who has ever achieved something significant has faced exhaustion. What separates them from the rest is not talent, it's persistence. They showed up one more time. They worked one more hour. They took one more small step. Each extra effort added up, and eventually, what once felt impossible became normal.